Hello everyone, my name is Alice. I'm a member of the Gender Equality Social Impact Project. Today I am here with, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm David and I'm Alice's friend.
So first off, David, can I have your consent to post this audio and video online onto our gender equality website to open discussion for our listeners out there and to raise awareness about gender equality, or in today's case, toxic masculinity?
You do have my consent.
Okay. Well, first question today for you, David. What do masculinity and femininity mean to you? What traits would you consider to be masculine or feminine?
Well, just right off the bat, when you say masculine, you immediately conjure up images of big muscles, big strong man. Whereas with feminine, it's long hair, curvy features. If you take it a step further, the traits that a masculine person would embody would be someone that can provide for the family. Whereas a feminine mother, for example, is someone that can care and nurture and look after the family.
Yeah, and I understand that you're talking about like the generalization and not your own personal views.
Correct.
So next question, would you consider yourself like a typical man?
I would consider myself a modern man.
Modern man.
Traditional men I would consider to be someone that is very closed off, very standoffish, not talking about their feelings much, not talking about, for example, things that would bother them. They just bottle it up, just do their work, get home, not show much affection. For me in particular, I'd like to be more open, be more vulnerable, because there are,
able to talk about your feelings.
Yeah.
So, kind of things that you were listing before, they were traits of toxic masculinity. So, what are some other examples of toxic masculinity behavior that you've come across?
I'm lucky to never have encountered it myself in my life, but I am aware of other people, friends and family, and especially people online that I frequent across. Toxic masculinity comes in a form such as men, we can't show feelings. We only have two feelings to show, and that's happiness or anger. For example, men, we can't be caretakers. It's always a woman's job. If a man is seen with a young child, they're often seen as a bit suspicious. Other traits of toxic masculinity include, for example, mental health is very big as well too. So women are able to talk about their feelings, whereas men, once again, have to bottle it up. Body positivity. Women have all these, there's curvy type clothing, there's petite clothing for women, there's so much different body acceptance out there, whereas for men, we're shamed, dad bod. We're not really encouraged to really embrace our body in that aspect. So being a man does have its challenges, but then again, if you look on the other side, being a woman also has its challenges as well too. Okay.
So in what aspects do you think it's easier to be a man or to be a woman?
I think as much as it's a bad thing to say, I think we still live in quite a patriarchal society. I think men are still considered the sole breadwinners. However, things are still changing and things are quite still modernizing. Men are generally considered to be a bit safer. We've all heard horrible stories about women going out and getting attacked or verbally abused, and it does happen to men as well too, but generally it's females that are a target. On the flip side, men, it's very hard to be approached as a man because we're often seen as this one-dimensional character of a very big, muscly caveman, not able to express our feelings. So just to sort of build up on another issue you brought up previously, friendship is also a big thing as well too. Amongst females, there's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of physical intimacy. I'm sure you and your friends do a lot of hugging, a lot of hand holding. I've noticed it when you walk with your friends, whereas with men, we don't get that often, Most we get is a high five, and that's the most physical contact we get in a month.
Fist bump.
That's correct, yeah. So we do yearn for these kind of things, and sometimes when we bottle it up, it does sort of come out in ways that we don't want to. Like, for example, it's often said that men that, are violent against their partners often have very neglected childhoods. So they came from households where, for example, it's a single parent, or their parents didn't look after them properly. So because they weren't nourished emotionally, they would take it out in their later years in life. So it is a bit of a catch-22.
Yeah. I feel like what you've been talking about is like how it's emotionally easier being a woman because we are able to open up and talk about our feelings. So what aspects is it easier to be a man?
I think whereas from a female perspective, it's easier emotionally. I think in a sense it is a bit physically easier being a man. just from a biological standpoint, you know, we are bigger muscles, stronger in that aspect. So
Generally, yeah.
Generally, yes. On the flip side, women, and I had to say this, they're made to give birth.
Yes.
So another topic I want to touch on is the beauty of childbirth and the beauty of pregnancy. So I think I like to frequent a lot of online forums, and one thing that I've discovered recently is that I really envy the amazing ability of a female body to be able to nurture life. Whereas men, you know, we can't really do that ourselves. It's often been said that females or women become mothers when they get pregnant. So at that first instance of conception, whereas men only become fathers when they're holding newborns in their arms. So just to generalize, children often feel closer to their mothers, whereas fathers feel a bit more distant. So it's always harder being a father than being a mother. Sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent there, but just some of my thoughts. Yeah.
So you're talking about like masculinity and femininity, talking about from like a biological standpoint. So how would you say that our behaviors are influenced by our biological sex, and are general roles primarily inherent or learned?
I'm a man of science. I believe in science. So I just want to take a little step back and talk about the biology of sex. So we all know that females are XX and males are XY chromosomes. But if you look at things from the animal kingdom as well too, generally speaking, women or females are the carriers of children, whereas males are the providers of children. So we give the sperm, whereas the females have the eggs. Therefore, a female is generally more inclined to spend a lot more time looking for a desirable partner, whereas inherently, instinctively, it is in the male sort of instinct to provide and give as many children as possible. So, just to get back to your question, how do these biological traits affect? Sorry,
how are our behaviours influenced by our biological sex? Yeah.
So we can see that from this, women are more inclined to be a bit more emotionally intelligent. They look more for an emotional connection, whereas males are a bit more physically attracted to females. We look for certain physical traits because we want to find the best partner to pass on those genes onto. How does that relate to gender stereotypes? This can make it seem that men are brutish, they're standoffish, that they're just physically stimulated creatures, and as a stereotype, females are a lot more attuned to their emotions.
Yeah, I actually just wanted, just like asking that question just now, I actually want to add on to that, because like, how are our behaviours influenced by our biological sex? Because you mentioned that, you know, females are caretakers because we because we nurture life. And I feel like back in the day, you know, like talking about history, before like contraception was created, because like our role would be just like to keep bringing life into the world, and especially without contraception, we like always keep being pregnant. And obviously, like when you're pregnant, like carrying a baby, you're like obviously a little bit more vulnerable, and more like your physical ability isn't the same as if you're not pregnant, for example. So I feel like when like that's the case, and you have your partner with you, your partner, like in every animal species, like the partner, like in order to get pregnant, and you have a partner, and then they would be looking after you, like providing for you like food physically.
I think just to cut you in there, I think this is a trait mainly seen in humans. So if you look in the animal kingdom, this is very rarely seen. Most of the times the male will impregnate the female and off he goes. So the female is brought up on its own.
I guess it depends on the species.
Chimpanzees and our ape brethren, they've been shown to show this behaviour, and it's been proven in studies that this is what has sort of helped humans evolve so quickly. It's this familial dynamic and group dynamic where the father stays with the mother, looks after the child together.
Okay, well, let's talk about humans then. Like in the past, well, like I know that my grandmother had like 8 children. Yeah,
my grandma also had like 7 or 8
so she had a lot of like
too.
children, like one after the other. So like in that case, my grandfather was the one looking after my grandmother during the times that she was pregnant. So I feel like it's because of those traditional, or like because I'm guessing I'm talking about like where gender roles started in the first place. It's because like you said, like females did start off like being the nurturers of life, and it's kind of carried on, and we're like now we're starting to talk about gender equality and gender roles, because you know we're not getting, like there are women out there who don't want to get pregnant which is of course like
It's
nothing
totally
wrong with
okay.
that. Yeah, it's perfectly okay. Like, you know, it's their body, their choice. But like, because there's that difference in like now that, you know, the times have become more modern. Yeah, I feel like that's how, like, now with there's like talks about like gender roles and toxic masculinity, but like in the past there wasn't that prevalent. Do you know what I mean?
I think with modern times, things should modernize. So obviously, if you look back 50 or 60 years ago when our grandparents were alive, things were a lot harder back then. You know, you had to work a lot harder, manual labor, but generally things were a bit cheaper to buy as well too. Whereas we have modern medicine now, technology and science has advanced so much. But with that, it gives us more freedom. Just to add on to that, if we look to the future of how gender equality and gender empowerment could come to be, we see that in certain familial relationships, they're starting to shift. It's no longer male-female. We have, you know, homosexual relationships where it's not just male and female, it's female-female or male-male, or even just a single-parent family as well too. So with these evolving dynamics, so too will these gender empowerment roles change as well too. So I think this will be a topic that may be discussed for future years to come.
You're very articulate.
You do?
Not really. Okay. On to our next question. Oh, this is an interesting one. Does toxic femininity exist? If so, what does it look like?
I'm glad you brought it up because I've actually never heard of that phrase.
Yeah.
And I think why is that within females, it's so easy to talk about these kind of things.
Yeah.
You can talk about the feelings and, you know, things that are wrong, whereas within the male community, it's very rarely spoken.
Yeah.
That's why toxic masculinity is such a key buzzword.
Yeah.
But to go back to your question, I think there is an aspect of toxic femininity. Just off the top of my head, for example, there are certain stereotypes or certain gender norms that females are expected to sort of align with.
Yeah.
The most prominent being the motherly type.
Yeah.
You know, females are expected to be caring, nurturing, expected to bear children.
Yeah, be able to do the housework.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And if you can't,
do the housework, look after the family, and if you can't do that, you're seen as a failure, or you're ostracized in the society, or you're not even eligible for dating. Just to bring it back to, for example, ancient China, we had the concept of leftover woman, where it was a woman that was too old to get married and men would never want her. So in regards to toxic femininity, that's one aspect. That's the nurturing motherly stereotype. Another one could be, for example, appearance-wise. Although, you know, with modern times, body positivity is a very big thing, there is still shaming.
Yeah.
Like, you know, women expected to be thin, curvy, you know, wear makeup, have all the good features, but that's what we see on magazines and on TV and on social media. You know, all these models, you know, these are standards that we can never attain. So I think that's very unhealthy for our younger children to look to. So that's the second one. It's sort of appearance-wise, and sort of a third pillar of toxic femininity could be, for example, is the stereotype that women should be gentle, that they should be, you know, submissive. You know, I think this is especially prevalent in the Asian community as well too. You know, Asian females is considered to be, you know, very submissive, just do what the husband says and don't even bat an eyelid. I think that's changing. You know, women are a lot more dominant these days. They have a say. They can do things that they want to. They don't have to rely on their partners. So it's about gender equality. And what that means is that it's not one gender is stronger than the other. It's both have equal rights and both have a fair say in what they want to do.
Yeah. This is interesting. Does the world need more masculinity or more femininity?
I think definitely more femininity. I think we definitely live in a patriarchal world. I mean, if you look back to, you know, 100 years, 200 years ago, mainly kings. We didn't have many queens. Most countries still have kings. It's a very male-dominated society where the man has more say in it, and this has gone back to many years where, you know, biological men are stronger, bigger sort of caretaking figures. And
and if you look at the government, like most of our politicians are male, and you see like not many female politicians.
And look at all the conflict in human history. All have been created or somewhat arisen from male-dominated philosophies. You know, men fighting other men, being brutish. You know. And this is another thing that toxic masculinity encompasses. It's the jobs that men do as well too. Men are asked to do the harder jobs. We're the garbage men, we're the plumbers, we're the ones that are conscripted to war. We're the ones that die first. if you've seen Titanic, it's, you know, women and children first, and men are left to die. So we do get the short end of the stick sometimes in that aspect. The world needs more femininity. It needs to be kinder. It needs to be more patient. It needs to be more attuned with your emotions. I think we've had enough masculine, male-dominated testosterone for the past few years in human history. And sorry, just to add to that, I think certain countries where they are ruled, or where the leaders are female figures, such as New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, I think Sweden has a very young prime minister as well too. Their policies are very modern, and they're really looking to the future and looking after their countries. I'd argue even better than the male counterparts.
Did you do your research before this interview?
No, I did not.
Wow,
Yeah,
it's very knowledgeable. Yeah. So we were talking about mental health in terms of toxic masculinity before. There's a stigma that men who express their feelings are often seen as weak. What do you think? Is it okay for men to cry?
I think it is okay for men to cry, but it's still very stigmatized. I think a phrase you often hear, even I still hear amongst friends, is, you know, "Suck it up, princess." You know, no one wants to see a guy express their feelings, and this is a lot more prominent in certain like jobs in society, like tradies or like the big jobs where it's male-dominated. It's a very toxic environment where males egg each other on to do certain things, and they're not able to express this emotional side to them. I think, in a sense, emotions are still considered weak. You know, we're men. We're supposed to be strong. We're supposed to, you know, provide for the family, to do the hard jobs. If you can't do that, then what are you? You're not a man. This is something that I hear quite often.
What do you think of the phrase like "man up"? Then? Is that toxic, or?
I can see where it came from, the historical roots of it. You know, if you considered wartime, when you're with your comrades in arms and you're on the battlefield, you know, you want to be a strong man. You want to live another day. But in our modern times, you know, we're not in war. We're just living normal lives. We're just trying to make a living, just trying to provide for our family. I think having a strong partner as well too, who can listen to you, who can understand where you're coming from, is definitely a big help as well too for men out there who experience this sort of toxic masculinity culture or toxic culture in their workforce.
Okay. What traits do you find attractive in a partner? Do you find traditional gender traits attractive?
I would consider myself quite a modern individual, so the traits I look for in a partner are also quite modern as well too. I'm not looking for someone that is a pushover. I want someone that can challenge me, that can weather storms, someone that is able to help me through life with the challenges, support me, and just be my partner.
And not just like a housewife either.
I don't want something traditional as an aspect.
I like your answer.
Thank you.
David, so our last question for today: how can we move past and heal from toxic gender ideas and behaviours?
I think these behaviours and these ideas have been ingrained in society's mindsets for so long that it'll be very hard to change it overnight. It's not an overnight solution. This is something that will be talked about for many years, and it's a topic that will evolve over the many years as well too, as the family dynamics change. I think, as with any issue, the first step is communication and just accepting that this is a problem. Talking about it to your friends, to your family, trying to be vocal about it, and raising awareness. Raising awareness. Sure. That's the most important thing that we can do.
And that's what we're doing right now.
That's what we're doing right now. With excellent courses like the SIP project, I'm sure that many will hear this and understand a bit more about toxic masculinity and gender norms and gender stereotypes. Apart from raising awareness, other things we can do include reevaluating your ideas and your personality. So, for example, if you're someone in a workforce that has a very toxic masculine workforce, like for example, just as a stereotype like a tradie or what have you, if one of your mates calls you out and says, you know, man up, maybe just stop there and just call them out on that. Just say, you know, that's not appropriate to say. You know, like, you know, you don't have to man up. You can just be who you are. Being a man doesn't mean, or, you know, showing emotions doesn't make you less a man. Okay? So I think checking yourself and also checking the others around you and reevaluating and just correcting them when they say something wrong is also quite important. And that really is the most we can do from a small scale, but I'm sure larger scale initiatives such as yours will have a bigger impact.
Well, thank you for your time today, David.
I'd also like to thank Alice. I think her SIP project is such a great cause. This is a topic that's not often discussed in everyday life. And it's a very important topic to talk about as well too, because we're all part of family dynamics, we'll have friends, or have family, and sometimes we have these ingrained biases that we're not aware of. So I think this is an excellent cause that you're representing, so I'm really happy that you're doing something like this.
Thank you, David. Everyone make sure to check out David's social impact project on anti-racism as well. Just a shout out there for you.
Shout out.